I am Artemis Teagan, and I am the owner and director of the Artemis Center for Family Therapy. I am happy to have two of my colleagues here today, Robin Kim and Veronica Davies. And I wanted to talk a little bit about another question from our viewers, which was the application of mindfulness with addiction treatment. This is actually one of the most valuable areas for mindfulness. And what we've learned is that inherent in a lot of recovery programs are the concepts of meditation and prayer and mindfulness. So when we have somebody coming in, whether they're newly sober or not yet clean or in some area of struggle, we'll work with them on that whole concept of using metaphor to talk about being in the midst of a storm. The storm equates to the urge to get loaded, and whether this is a young kid or a teenager or an adult, it applies. Learning how to come into contact with the urge to drink and use, to get loaded, to cut, to gamble, to act out on a sex addiction, they're all pretty much equivalent. Mm-hmm. So we're helping them to get into contact with what that feels like rather than being in avoidance of it, right? Rather than trying to pretend like it's not happening or ignore it or get distracted. Those are all avoidance strategies. We're trying to help them come into contact with it. We cannot stop the wave from coming, but we can learn how to surf. Right? So if I'm dealing with an addiction and the wave is the equivalent of that urge to get loaded, I'm learning how to stay on the board, present, using my breath and my five senses, because if I turn back and look at the wave coming, it's going to knock me over. And if I'm too far ahead of myself, I'm going to start to wobble. So it requires that I stay completely here in the presence of that urge to get loaded and write it out. And we learn to do this in addiction treatment. We learn to encounter the craving, and we learn that it's going to pass, whether I act on it or not, even if it's the urge to cut, right?
Right.
If I can hang out with this
Absolutely.
and learn what's going on that I'm so uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. What's beneath this craving? Am I lonely? Am I angry? Am I jealous? Am I feeling empty? Mm-hmm. And can I learn something from that while I'm not in the process of chasing my addiction? And if I can get a moment or two of that, like, what am I really upset about, right? And attend to that in therapy. Let's talk about how empty you feel. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about how lonely you feel. Let's talk about how abandoned you feel, right? What then begins to happen to the storm or the craving or the urge to act out destructively is that it subsides.
Right.
In the presence of being authentic and genuine with what's really happening, that destructive behavior starts to subside. The client gets to experience in session having the craving, having the unmanageable feelings and thoughts and sensations, and learning about what's there and processing what's there and seeing it subside, all without acting out. Mm-hmm. Right? And then you reinforce that by saying, look at what you just did. Look at what you just faced, mm-hmm. right?
Right.
Without using anything. Mm-hmm. If you can do it here, you can do it for the rest of the day. Mm-hmm. You can do it tomorrow. You can do it until you see me again. You can do it all week long, right? So this tends to be really powerful information for them. Like, wow, I had all this stuff come up and I got through it and I didn't have to get loaded. So that's very much core mindfulness.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we need some acceptance to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And some compassion to show up that, we're okay and we're struggling, but we're really okay. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the really valuable, one of the valuable byproducts of mindfulness is
and
to have
compassion-focused mm-hmm. treatment, which mm-hmm. is, sort of right behind mindfulness practice, is this bringing in that ability to teach clients to be more loving and more kind in the ways that they see themselves.
Absolutely.
And in the ways that they see their parents or their friends or their teachers, mm-hmm. that we're all struggling and that we all are making mistakes and learning from that, and that's good and it's fine.